Afternoon, guys. I'm Dave Canterbury with the Pathfinder School, and what I'm standing beside right here is not a stump. It is one of the 5 most versatile wooden tools that you can easily create in a woodland environment that is multifunctional in nature and will help you complete lots and lots of tasks, and before it's over with, you'll probably find 101 uses for this piece of wood. Let's get started. Okay, so we know that this is a stump. It's made from a hardwood log. It's a little more than axe handle length, but axe handle length would be fine. It's going to have to be sawn. So you're going to have a fairly large saw depending on the log you want to cut. But a bow saw or a bucking saw will cut this easy enough. It's probably 8.5 inches in diameter. Doesn't necessarily have to be that big, but the larger it is, the more versatile it will become over time. So what am I going to do with this stump? Well, let's see. First of all, I'm going to sit on it. It's going to get me off the ground and keep my tail end off the ground and keep my knees off the ground when I'm sitting around camp performing different tasks and functions or sitting in front of my campfire. So the first thing it is a stool. This stump is also my chopping block for processing my firewood. It's my tabletop or anvil for processing finer kindling or food processing. I can put this stump inside my camp and use it for a table, for my lamp, or my candle, to put something on top of I need to keep off the ground, a book, or anything like that as well. So without any processing, this stump, other than cutting it, this stump becomes a very versatile tool. I can turn it sideways, and I can sit on it like a bench to keep myself up off the ground. Very comfortable, tuck my heels into the back of it here, to sit down like this in front of the fire, to do tasks on another stump possibly, and it's a very comfortable seat. Now, if we process this stump down a little bit, and we make a couple very simple cuts and notches in this stump, it becomes more of a workbench for us. And we'll talk about that right now. So the first thing that we want to do with this stump is we want to cut a couple of V-notches of a couple different sizes in this stump, and that's going to serve as a sawing horse. If I put a piece of wood that's round on top of a round surface, it's going to want to roll as I'm trying to cut it with my saw or notch it with my knife. If I have a V-groove for that piece of wood to sit inside of, then this becomes a sawing horse or a carving horse. And I've left the bark on the stump only because it gives it friction on the ground. It will eventually fall off. So we're going to take and saw just a couple of straight notches, V-notches, straight into this log. And it doesn't need to be real deep. And this notch should pretty much, this side of the notch, should pretty much intersect with that one so that we can pop it out of there in V fashion. And we're going to use one of our other tools, our other wooden tools, to finish this, because we're going to use our axe in conjunction with a maul. And a maul is a tool that can be used for everything from batoning to pounding on the back of your axe to split or use it more like a chisel. Just like that. Now we pop that V-notch in, and now we've created a sawing horse for small lumber. So now all I have to do is put the piece that I'm going to cut, roll my log a little bit, get it where I want it and push down here, and I've locked it into this V and this log won't move. So now if I'm cutting lumber down to size, it's very simple to complete those type tasks. Nothing's going to move, and I can make nice easy cuts. Again, the wider this notch, the bigger the piece I can lay in here, progressively. Okay, the next notch that we're going to cut into our stump, and again I just set it up on top of this other stuff to give you guys a better view here. We're going to cut a very simple 7 type notch in here, or stake type notch, and we're going to cut it on this side and angle it in so that the heavier part of the log is over here. So we'll start out over a little ways like this and cut a straight cut into the top of this log. We're going to cut that down a good 1.5 or 2 inches. And the reason for that is, again, if we're working with 4-inch logs, and that's the largest dimension log I think you really need to work with in the end for structural things. If we make this 2 inches deep and we put a 4-inch log into this to process it, it's going to have plenty of stability. And it doesn't have to be quite a V cut. If there's a little step in there, or a little flat in there, that's okay too. So I'm kind of looking at where these cuts are coming together. Got a little bit of a flat there and a little bit of a flat on this side. That's okay with me. So now we're going to go back to the maul and the axe, and we're going to cut that notch out. Just like that. And then we'll clean it up. Just like that. Doesn't have to be perfect in there. It really doesn't. You're just using this for a backstop more than anything else. Doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. Now it's always good to keep a couple pieces of this off thaw, or pieces that you cut off, these rounds, because you can set them underneath this thing and keep it from rolling around on you. But now that we've created this 7 notch, or this modified 7 notch in this piece, we got one straight wall, one angled wall. We can use that for our larger dimensional lumber, or larger dimension lumber that we want to cut as our sawhorse. As long as it's stable in there, it'll be fine. We can cut that just fine without it moving around. This is a piece of maple, so it'll take a little bit to cut this stuff. You can see that's not moving at all. It's not shaking around, it's not doing nothing. If we were to try to cut that over here, just on top of this rolling surface, now we've got to try to, every time we move it, it's wrenching against our wrist. As soon as we put it inside this notch, it's going to be stable again. It's not going to move around at all. I almost don't have to hold it. I'm just holding it for stabilization purposes. Okay? Now, the other advantage to this notch here, this 7 notch, or this modified 7 notch, is if we turn this log around like this, and again, we'll go ahead and put our round in here just to stabilize it from moving. We now have a backstop with a slant here that we can use for carving. So if we have a stick like this that we're going to carve on with our knife or with our axe, it doesn't really matter what we're using. Whatever we're using to carve with, we have something to stabilize that on. If we were making a bow stave or making a spear or anything else, we could do it very easily, and we have a backstop here. We can just roll this thing around, carve that right out to a point if we need to, and it's going to make it very stable during that process. So we have a backstop here that's almost like a vise or a stop point to put our wood into while we're carving. And it doesn't matter if we're carving up here or if we're carving down here, we've still got a good stable spot to put that into without having to stick it in the dirt. Okay guys, well I appreciate you joining me for this quick video on the Stump Anvil today. It is one of the 5 wooden tools that you can create off the landscape very quickly to increase your convenience level while in the woods. And remember, if you haven't read my books or are not familiar with my other videos, when you are creating your kit, you are thinking about 3 things: core temperature control, comfort, and convenience. Convenience being the last thing that you think about, but it's the things that make your camp life easier. Being able to create a wood crafting or bush crafting workbench from a stump is a very easy way to do that. We'll continue with this on part 2 another day, and also get to the other type tools that you can create from wood. We showed you the maul today and also in yesterday's video, and we talked a little bit about the Stump Anvil today. We'll talk more about that in another video probably tomorrow. I thank you for your views. I thank you for your support. I thank you for everything that you do for our school, for our family, for our business, for all of our sponsors, instructors, affiliates, and friends. I'll be back with another video as soon as I can. Thanks, guys.